People are so polite. They often ask me, so where do you come from? Which is another way of saying, where does that accent come from, right? It's not a secret anymore. English is not my first language, it's actually my third language. And I have so many stories about me messing up with the words, with the accent. Like, for instance, a few weeks ago, Nikki, very politely corrected me for years after taping my senior pastor video in the States. For years, I used to say we have the weekly address. And with Pastor Peter, we have on Facebook the weekly address. Well, I didn't know it's supposed to be said weekly address. So for years, nobody had corrected me until Nicole graciously did that. Thank you so much. A few years ago, back in the States, we had this gym night. We had all these youth coming, and I was going to surprise them with pizza. So this is me on the cell phone in the big gym, everybody playing, making a lot of noise, me calling the pizza place with my accent, and somebody with a heavy Indian accent answers. With the background, the pizza, the pizza store, the pizza shop, all the noise, all the sound, and ring the people and me, and trying to communicate to each other. I spent about, I don't know how many tens of dollars, many dollars, ordering pepperoni pizza for everybody. Somehow, with my accent, with her accent, we tried to communicate, and I ended up ordering pepperoni pizza in an Adventist event for the youth. I have many more stories like that. But I wish all of them were funny, though. I have some sad stories that happened to me in the States because I had a Hispanic accent. When you talk to a Spaniard like me, you never say you have a Hispanic accent because we are not Hispanic. We are Spaniards. But in the States, anything that sounds like me is a Hispanic man. And there is something sad about the States. I love the people. My best friends are in the States. But somehow, they look down to Hispanics. There is a lot of racism in the States. It's not just about the color of your skin, it's about your accent as well. If you are on the phone with somebody and you talk with an accent, they don't treat you the same. At least that was my experience. More than once, I would talk on the phone with customer service, with the bank. With the bank, it wasn't that bad, but with a phone company or with any other company, they just didn't treat me the same. Once I remember just hanging up, semi-politely, and I said, Elena, can you please call them? And you talk to them. She called this company. It was the same case number. It was the same account. It was the same problem. But my wife does not have a Hispanic accent. She was treated perfectly. More than once, I had to do things that they were a little bit embarrassing for me. One of them was in a store. They made me go into the trash can and look for the receipt that, oh, bad me, I had thrown out before leaving the store. They wouldn't let me leave the store. And they made me look into the trash can, get the receipt, and I showed them, this I bought here. Do you believe me now? Yes, you can go now. When I get nervous, my accent gets stronger and my grammar disappears. disappears. So what I learned in the States is dress up, go in person so they can see your body language, not just your accent on the phone. Act extremely professional, even if you are asking for ice cream. Funny, but it's not funny. Other people that have other kind of racism, not just with the accent, but with the skin color, know what I'm talking about. I never experienced that before in my life. Because when I first came to Canada, which was the second country I immigrated to, my first one was France, and that was fine there. But when I came here to Canada, it was completely safe. When I became Canadian, like illegally Canadian, in that room, the judge had a very strong Iranian accent. The person that was by his side was Japanese or Chinese, I don't know, but very, very interesting accent as well. The clerk was Indian, and all of us were a pupuri of nations and accents. I felt like home. This is a safe place to be. I thought that when I would leave that room, my accent would disappear and I would speak like a Canadian, right? When I heard myself speaking, I was muted. I paused the mute button for 2 weeks. I was so disappointed. I thought I was going to speak perfect English, but it didn't happen. You know, there is also a spiritual accent. We have an accent. Christians have an accent when we talk around. We say, have you been saved? And somebody that's not Christian thinks, oh, what happened to you? Did you get lost? You were persecuted and someone saved you from the lions? No, I gave my life to Jesus. You gave your life to Jesus? Did you commit suicide? You know, we have a lingo. We have an accent. We speak different. Adventists, we keep the Sabbath. Where? In the closet? What do? We speak different. Justification by faith. Okay, so when you are on Microsoft Word and you do the margins, you put the justification by faith to the left or to the right. Is that what it is? Sanctification. Oh, so we die, 100 years pass, and the Catholic Church finds out that we did a miracle, so they make us saints, right? Haystacks. Do you eat haystacks? Is that legal? How doesn't it hurt? Haystacks? Okay, now to the serious part. Do you ever feel that you have a spiritual accent in your own church, where everybody is supposed to speak the same, where everybody is supposedly talk the same and have the same beliefs and have the same way of expressing themselves? Do you ever feel that you have a spiritual accent in your own church? Do you ever feel that you don't fit in your own church, in your own local church? I did once. I was a teenager when a friend of mine and I became intimate and had a child. And suddenly, everybody had an opinion. Suddenly, I received unsolicited advice from everybody. Painful remarks, look downs. I became a difficult subject to talk about during church boards, church manuals. Long story short, I had a big spiritual accent in my own church, and I left it. I left the church for years. until I had a personal encounter with Jesus at the well. What does it mean, I had a personal encounter with Jesus at the well? Well, not in my church, but somewhere away. I found some people that accepted me as I was, with my mistakes, with my visual mistakes, with my visible mistakes. They knew everything about me, but they didn't dwell on it. And I felt like the Samaritan woman. She went to the well at noon, not because noon is a fun time, it's a good time to go and take water at the well, but she went at noon because she didn't want to be seen by people from her own town. People used to go early in the morning or in the evening to take water when the sun wasn't perpendicular and it wasn't that hot. I felt like that. I felt like I couldn't be in my own town. I couldn't be with my other people because they were looking down at me. They were holding their Bibles, they were holding their church manuals, and they were hitting me with them. But I felt loved by a new group of people. And to me, that was Jesus at the well. You know, John, the Gospel of John is amazing. He talks about relationships. It's a relationship book. He talks about what the feelings were with the people. He talks about the conversations that Jesus had with his disciples. There are things that we find in John that we don't find in any other Gospels. Because oftentimes the other Gospels, they just tell us what happened. While John, it tells us how it felt. It is very interesting. That's why it's one of my favorite books in the Bible. But the story of the Samaritan woman, the woman at the well, I'm going to summarize it in a few sentences, just in case somebody doesn't know that story. But it's a lady that goes to a well to take water, and then she finds this man, a Jew, that asks her for water. Now, there are many things grown in that scenario. One, she was Samaritan. They were in Samaria. In Samaria, they don't like Jews. The Jews, they don't like the Samaritans. So they hate each other. So they don't talk to each other. That's one. The second thing, a man couldn't talk to a lady in public. So it was wrong. The third thing is that the well was where the boys could try to meet the girls. When they were young and the girls would go to take the water for their parents and the family, the boys would sneak out to the well and would say, "Hey, can I have some water?" Yeah. That was the well that Jacob put there. Jacob's parents were kind of introduced at that place where this gentleman said to himself, "How am I going to find a woman for the son of my master? Oh, I'm going to ask for water." Why? Because that's what people did. Now we do something different. So this woman goes there at noon because she doesn't want to see anybody. She's hiding from the other ladies. She's hiding from her town. She goes when it's most difficult to get her water, but she needs water. And this man that is not supposed to talk to her, that is not supposed to address her in public, that it seems like he's flirting to her, she's all confused. But they have this conversation. And you know, I think that probably Jesus could hear the disciples coming from buying some groceries because he cut short He doesn't go through the normal conversation lingo or the way of approaching a person and talking. No, he just goes to the point because he hears the disciples coming and he knows that they don't really know how to treat people as people. Because they are Jews and they talk to the Samaritans. They don't even talk to the Samaritans. So he doesn't want to spend time telling them. He just wants, I'm going to cut to the bone. I'm going to tell this lady that I care for her. And I'm going to shock her. I'm going to tell her that I know her past. That will call her attention. That way, she will listen to what I have to say. And what I have to say to her is that I love her. And that if she drinks from my flowing water, she will live forever. But it's very interesting that he didn't keep talking about the fact that she had been married to 5 men, and the one who was with now wasn't her husband. Do you know that the Jewish population, the Samaritans as well, they were allowed to marry up to 3 times. After that, there is no way. They cannot marry more than 3 people. If they are divorced or widow or whatever it is, up to 3. She went 5. And then she was living with somebody. So he could have talked more there. He could have gone there and say, listen, lady, you are messed up. But no, he acknowledged what was going on, but his purpose wasn't to point his finger at her. His point was to take her hand and put it on his heart. That story, the way Jesus treated that lady, is the most difficult one to do. The easiest would be like a Nicodemus. Nicodemus came asking for questions. True be told, he didn't really know what Jesus was talking about, and he had to explain to him. But you know, that's a much more comfortable setting for us. We spend some money. We put some speaker. We bring some speaker, and the people that come are the people that are really wanting to listen about Jesus. That's the easiest one. But the women at the well are the difficult ones. By the way, do you know that Sychar, which is the town where that lady was, means drunkenness? Drunkenness. So that's what it meant, that city. And when Jesus said, I have to be there. Well, Jesus said, the story says Jesus had to be there. The translation in Greek is, he had a plan. He planned to be there. He planned to be in the city of drunkenness to break the stigmas of people, to break our glasses that are foggy and give us something new. We can see how to treat other people with love. 2 sinners, Nicodemus and Samaritan woman, have a special encounter with Jesus. They are perceived as a feather and a bowling ball. The bowling ball is the Samaritan woman because she really messed up. She's a sinner, whatever. The feather is Nicodemus. He's a religious man. A man versus a woman. A Jew versus a despised Samaritan. A rich man versus a poor. She would have to fetch her own water. She didn't have money to pay anybody to do that. A highly educated man versus an illiterate woman in the 1st century. A pious, a Pharisee versus an adulteress. A highly respected man versus a despised woman that had to go at noon when nobody saw her to take water. He has a great name, Nicodemus. She remains anonymous. The woman at the well, the Samaritan woman. What the encounter of Jesus with the Samaritan woman tells us is that no matter who you are, no matter what you have done, no matter where you have been or how you have been treated, Jesus' arms are open to you if you are willing to come. We need to hear that in the gospel, there is no more male or female. There is no more slave or free, no more Jew or Gentile, no more black or white, no more young or old, no more conservative or liberal, no more straight or gay, no more German, Russian, Jamaican, Asian, Hispanic, African or Canadian, no more baptized or not yet baptized, no more pregnant married or pregnant single. How can anyone claim to understand the gospel and fail to grasp its glorious lack of prejudice toward people of any heritage, background, social status, or particular way of sinning? We have a Feathery conundrum. We judge the people that sin differently than us. A nicotine addiction, using your wallet on Sabbath, or any variation of having physical intimacy outside of marriage are seen as a heavy bowling ball sin. A fake smile, a white lie, a proud heart, and a selfish style are seen as an unimportant white feather sin. But when all the stuffy air in the room is vacuumed, when all the noise in the world is silenced, when all our excuses are extinguished, when it is just us and Jesus in the room, all sins look the same. Both the feather sin and the bowling ball sin fall at the same speed. Both the feather sin and the bowling ball sin trespass Jesus' innocent body. So don't make judgments about anyone ahead of time before the Lord returns. For he will bring our darkest secrets to light and will reveal our private motives. Then God will give to each one whatever praise is due. Instead, let's love one another as Jesus loved us. Let's meet at the well with Jesus. Let's drink together from the living water that flows from Jesus. Let's focus our sight on Jesus, because it is all about Jesus. It's not about how much or how little we sin. It's all about Jesus. Jesus and Jesus alone.